Good afternoon. It's Sunday, the 14th of December. I'm Erin Viner, and this is IBA News broadcasting from Jerusalem. The Cabinet has approved Major General Gadi Eisenkot as the next IDF Chief of Staff. After naming him to the post, their minds turned to the mergers and divisions taking place across the political spectrum. Here to sort it all out is IBA's political correspondent, Ellie Wogelenter.
It's election season, but there's still a government to run, and that means the Cabinet still conducts its weekly meeting. So we'll start there. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to fight foreign pressure to withdraw from Judea and Samaria ahead of his meeting tomorrow with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry in Rome. Netanyahu said he would tell Kerry that Israel, to a large degree, stands as a solitary island against the waves of Islamic extremism that are washing over the entire Middle East. Now we also stand against the possibility of a diplomatic assault, that is, an attempt to compel us, by means of UN decisions, to withdraw to the 1967 lines within 2 years. This will lead to Islamic extremists reaching the suburbs of Tel Aviv and the heart of Jerusalem. We will not allow this. Netanyahu also welcomed the appointment of General Gadi Eisenkot as the next IDF Chief of Staff, saying Eisenkot is the right man in the right place at the right time. Gadi has been a soldier and a commander. He is a veteran commander, and he can lead the IDF in the face of the major challenges that surround us. Excuse me. The 54-year-old Eisenkot will replace the current Chief of Staff, Benny Gantz, in mid-February. Turning now to politics, and we'll start with Shas. Knesset member Eli Yishai, a prominent leader of Shas for the past 30 years, is expected to resign from the Haredi party and form a new political faction within the coming weeks. The move comes after a scheduled reconciliation meeting between him and current Shas chairman Aryeh Deri was canceled at the behest of the Sephardi party's rabbinic council. The two have been rivals for years, and their relationship soured even more after the death last year of Shas spiritual leader Rabbi Avadia Yosef. Yishai led the party for almost 14 years after Deri began serving his prison sentence for embezzlement. Pundits have speculated in recent days that Yishai could join with Housing and Construction Minister Uri Ariel. How can that be, you ask? That brings me to the next party for discussion, Bayit Yehudi. Uri Ariel is part of Naftali Bennett's party as head of the Tekuma wing, but there is much talk lately that Ariel tends to split from Bennett. A letter was sent last night from the Bayit Yehudi MKs to the Tekuma MKs, urging them not to leave. Meanwhile, Bayit Yehudi did pick up another candidate. Former Council of Jewish Communities in Judea and Samaria chairman Danny Dayan, one of the settler movement's most eloquent defenders, announced Sunday that he was leaving Likud and will be seeking a Knesset seat with Bayit Yehudi.
I was very glad that the chairman of the Jewish Home, Minister Naftali Bennett, asked me during the Saban Forum in Washington to join forces and to come to the Jewish Home. No doubt that from my ideological perspective, I feel very comfortable in the Jewish Home. This is the only party that says unequivocally that is opposed to a Palestinian state. That is the reason that brought me into politics, into public life.
And now to Likud and Yisrael Beitenu. Party leader Avigdor Lieberman accused his former partners in the Likud party of being hysterical, just like the Bayit Yehudi party, for asserting that a vote for Lieberman would bring about a left-wing government. When Likud MK Ofer Kunis, who lives in North Tel Aviv, says voting for Lieberman, who resides in the settlement of Nokdim, is like voting for a leftist government, I think all you can really do is laugh, Lieberman told Israel Radio. Akunis' poke at Lieberman followed remarks by the Yisrael Beitenu leader yesterday, saying that his party was not looking for political mergers, but also was not ruling out joining a government coalition headed by Isaac Herzog and Tzipi Livni's joint Labor HaTnuah list. And that brings us to Labor. The party's Central Committee is scheduled to meet tonight and approve the decision to run a joint slate with HaTnuah in the March 17th general election. The panel must also approve the rotation agreement between Herzog and Livni and approve the possibility of bringing in additional partners. Kadima chairman Shaul Mofaz is thought likely to join the two parties and be given a high place on the slate. Livni has also invited Professor Emmanuel Trachtenberg, who headed a government panel dealing with the issues of the social justice movement, to join the slate. How will the Israeli vote affect international relations? I put that question to Times of Israel editor David Horowitz, who told me he is concerned that the nation's image will be negatively impacted by the election of a right-wing government.
I would be taking a step back as an Israeli who looks at the way we are perceived internationally and the way that we seek to find a secure path through all the challenges that we face, I worry about a coalition in which there is no party to the left of Netanyahu, because I think that a government that is one-dimensionally right-wing will attract immense international criticism and international pressure. I think Israel is immensely more sinned against than sinning, but I think the potential for the international community to misjudge this country is acute, and I worry that we will wind up, if the opinion polls are right, with a government that makes it very easy for Israel's critics to batter and misrepresent Israel. In some cases, their criticisms might be accurate. In many cases, I think their criticisms might be inaccurate, but I worry that without components like a Yair Lapid or a Tzipi Livni, and without...
But we had that, and they still criticized us. We still had that.
Yeah. Okay, so if it was that bad with those guys, I worry that it will be much worse. And I'm talking about the wider, general, universal interest of the State of Israel. Never mind what the choices that we think Israel should make, which we could talk about a great deal. I'm talking about the way we will be perceived. We fought a war this summer that we did not want to fight against a terrorist government that diverted all the resources that it could of the Gaza Strip in order to build a war machine that they emplaced within a somewhat supportive civilian population. This war was misrepresented, this war was misreported, this war was misunderstood, and that was with a government that had a component at least that could credibly say, we've been trying to make peace with the Palestinians. We were misjudged with components in there that gave credibility to the notion that we were not the terrible people that we were being portrayed as being. Without even that credible component in our government, I worry that the criticism becomes worse. And you can say, yeah, but they hate us anyway, and therefore it's all... The fact is...
Or, as Matti Friedman pointed out, the bias of the media in accepting the narrative that Israel's at fault.
Absolutely, you can get into all of that, but the fact is that the more that we are misrepresented and stained by the events that are unfolding around us, the harder it is to maintain the capacity to defend ourselves effectively, because we depend on international alliances, we depend on diplomatic support, and most importantly from the United States.
The United Nations Security Council has unanimously condemned the gun attack on the Israeli embassy in Athens over the weekend and stressed the need to catch the perpetrators. Greek police believe a far-left group is likely responsible for the shooting of dozens of rounds at the building that caused no injuries. The Security Council praised the Greek government's swift investigation and reaffirmed that terrorism in all of its manifestations constitutes one of the most serious threats to peace and security. The UNSC went on to emphasize that all acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable regardless of motivation by whomever or whenever committed. Greek police say that the 2 Kalashnikov rifles used in the attack were also used during a similar assault on the residence of the German ambassador last December by the far-left People's Fighter Group. Israel is blaming the attack on the hate campaign against the country promoted by the Palestinian Authority. And in other news, an agreement has been reached to end the crisis at the nation's public hospitals. Director General of the Health Ministry, Arnon Afek, and representatives of the Ministry of Finance have agreed to transfer 150 million shekels to the medical facilities as a grant and not as a loan. Afek said that a condition of the funding requires the hospitals to meet a number of efficiency and economic stipulations. Some 250 protesters gathered at Jerusalem's Zion Square last night, demanding that the Lahava organization be outlawed after 3 of its members confessed to carrying out the November 29th arson attack at the hand-in-hand integrated Jewish-Arab school in the capital. Lahava is strongly opposed to Jewish assimilation, particularly mixed marriage between Jews and Gentiles. The protesters criticized the government for not doing enough to eradicate racism and price tag attacks, chanting that racism is outside the law and that Jerusalem will not shut up. Several right-wing activists also gathered nearby and launched a counter-protest. Residents and activists fighting to preserve the unique character of the picturesque Jerusalem neighborhood of Ein Kerem demonstrated yesterday against a municipal plan to build a hotel near the Christian holy site of Mary Spring in the heart of the area. The protesters are accusing City Hall of granting permits to developers without presenting the plans to local planning and building committee as required. Over the past several years, Ein Kerem has become a battleground between developers and those who live there and are trying to fight the bulldozers from spoiling its historical landscape. 2 people were killed and 5 injured in a head-on collision between 2 commercial vehicles on Highway 90 this morning near the settlement of Argamon in the Jordan Valley. The road was closed in both directions as police cars and ambulances raced to the scene. IDF medical personnel assisted paramedics in treating the victims. 3 of the injured required artificial respiration, while the other 2 suffered moderate to severe injuries. The victims were evacuated to area hospitals via helicopter. The Air Force was involved in a dramatic, complicated operation to rescue a worker trapped aboard a ship anchored at the Ashdod port after he was crushed by a pipe inside the vessel. In an unusual move, a military helicopter was dispatched to help to extract the 40-year-old victim, who was evacuated to the hospital suffering moderate injuries to his back and legs. Supporters of the Islamic State terror force from around the world are launching a campaign to free a man arrested in India who confessed to running a popular pro-ISIS Twitter account. Police say that 24-year-old Mehdi Masroor Biswas became a source of incitement and information for recruits to the radical Sunni group and was particularly close to English-speaking terrorists. His @Shami Witness account reportedly attracted 2 million views a month and had at least 17,000 followers in the United Kingdom alone. Kurds battling ISIS in Syria celebrated Biswas' capture after a recent heated exchange with him on Twitter when he voiced support of terrorist atrocities against Kurdish women, including rape and beheading. They were particularly enraged when he tweeted his thanks to the Kurdish PKK forces for recruiting female fighters, especially, he wrote, the ones who are caught alive by the rebels, LOL.
Mehdi Masroor Biswas has confessed to the fact that he was operating Shami Witness Twitter account for the last many years. He got interested in the development of Levantine region consisting of Turkey, Syria, Lebanon, Israel, Gaza Strip, Egypt and Libya, etc. from 2003 onwards. He used to work in his office during the day and became active on internet late into the nights.
Here at home, a local company has big plans for its tiny reproduction of the New Testament, so microscopic that it can be carried in a nanochip. We get more in this report. The Jerusalem Nano Bible Company has developed a chip smaller than 5 by 5 millimeters containing the original Greek version of the New Testament. Marketing personnel even believe that what is known in Latin as the Textus Receptus could eventually be embedded inside of watches and pendants.
Our aim is to be able to mass produce it and cater to really every pocket, because this application, the smallest Bible in the world, Jerusalem Nano Bible, can be applied to infinite possibilities in the jewelry industry.
Technical expertise to manufacture and produce the Nano Bible came from Tower Jazz Semiconductor. A silicon wafer containing biblical text was sliced into a square chip, measuring just 4.76 millimeters on each side.
We have used 0.18 micron technology, so the width of each of these letters is 0.18 micron to create the smallest printed Bible in the world. In every one of these squares, which is about 1,000 of these squares on an 8-inch silicon wafer, there is a little bit more than 1,000 Bibles. What that means is that we have produced the smallest recorded, printed New Testament ever in the world. And that is extremely significant.
The end result has been validated by an academic scholar who examined the chip and determined that it indeed contains the 27 books of the New Testament. Christian pilgrims to Jerusalem are warmly welcoming the Israeli innovation, saying that the item may even be embraced by those of other faiths.
The Nano Bible concept is a fantastic concept, and I think each and every, not only Christian, but those who are in earth, maybe Hindu, maybe Christian, maybe Muslim, maybe Jew, he must have his either Bible or Quran or Gita with him that will give him inspiration throughout the life.
I think it'd be good. People like something different, souvenirs and this type of thing. And for people to be able to buy something like that, I think it'd be a great idea.
The smallest Bible in the world is now under review by the Guinness Book of Records. Future plans include the production of a nano-sized 5 books of Moses as well. And that's when the people of the book can also be referred to as the people of the nanochip. Turning now to sports, and the race for the Israel Soccer League title tightened up considerably as two-time defending champions Maccabi Tel Aviv defeated Hapoel Petah Tikva 3-1 to close within 2 points of league leaders Kiryat Shmona, which was held to a 2-2 draw by Hapoel Akko. Eran Zahavi led Maccabi to victory with 2 goals, extending his scoring streak to 16 straight matches. Maccabi also jumped into second place over Hapoel Beersheva, which was upset 2-0 by Bnei Sachnin. During tonight's match, seen live on Israel Television, Channel 1 at 8:40, Maccabi Haifa will try to move up several places into 5th position by vanquishing crosstown rivals Hapoel before an expected crowd of some 30,000 fans at the first derby to ever be held at the city's new Sami Ofer Stadium. And while even though it's more of a game than a sport, the Israeli bridge team has won a gold medal at the Sport Accord World Mind Games in Beijing. This is the first Israeli championship at the tournament, and the squad succeeded in overcoming many of the top international players en route to taking the title. The head of the Israeli Bridge Federation called it a true battle of David versus Goliath, as Israel triumphed over legendary teams, including China and the United States. For the past 20 years, thousands of visitors have been attending the annual December weekend holiday festival in Haifa. The festivals of Hanukkah, Eid al-Adha, and Christmas are all celebrated in the city, which has come to stand for coexistence and multiculturalism. The event will continue until December 27th, with visitors invited to attend theatrical and musical performances. This weekend, the Christmas season started off when the Christian community of the mixed city got into the holiday spirit with a Scouts March, along a route lined by spectators who cheered and clapped the youngsters as they passed. Local markets are also very festive as shoppers are out in force to purchase Christmas decorations that include a lot of Santa Claus. The Mediterranean city is often referred to as the country's best example of coexistence between the Jewish, Muslim, and Christian Arab residents. And the Hanukkah spirit is also upon us ahead of the first night of the holiday this coming Tuesday, and residents are stocking up on sweets and menorahs for the upcoming celebrations. IBA's R.A. O'Sullivan visited Jerusalem's Machane Yehuda market to taste some jelly donuts and brings us this report.
It's a time for sweets and goodies, and none represent Hanukkah more than sufganiyot, that sticky sweet jelly donut.
Sufganiyot over here, 6 for 20, guys. The best sufganiyot in Jerusalem, marzipan, guys. The best marzipan with the sufganiyot. Number 2, last year of sufganiyot.
The selection at the Machane Yehuda market is vast and even includes some with real spirits.
Hanukkah is a big holiday in Israel, so this is chocolate with strawberry, with a French meringue, with little bit red color. This is chocolate with anise, pastis, sambuca, and chocolate is very nice for the shuk, This is with fig. You see this fruit is the best in the shuk, so you can see the sufganiyot with fig, with strawberry, with everything. And also we have with halva, with jam, with nougat, with everything.
So if I eat this sufganiyah with arak, will I get drunk?
Of course, we like to drink every day, all the night, and to eat knafe.
Dreidels and chocolate are also high in demand.
Kids love to play with the silicone, so I'm getting 2 for guys and 1 for a girl.
And you like to stock up on good chocolates for Hanukkah?
Yeah. Well, what we used to do in Hanukkah, it's a family gathering, and then we hide the presents for the kids, and everybody goes around holding hands and looking each time for a different present for a different child. Nice. So this was very nice singing. So I'm trying to repeat this tradition.
I just made Aliyah this week.
That's great.
Know what that means?
Yes, so you moved to Israel, and now we're having Hanukkah.
And I'm celebrating myself.
Are you buying chocolate for Hanukkah?
Sure.
Yeah.
But starting with me.
But what's the Festival of Lights without candelabras, which are available in all shapes and sizes? Catching on in popularity are the oil-based menorahs harking back to ancient times to mark the miracle of Hanukkah.
This is a Hanukkah. You light it with oil. So people who light with the oil, they get gulas. Gula is good fortune.
Came to Jerusalem because my brother is here to visit for the holidays and for other purposes. And our parents were afraid at first. Then we said, hey, this is our country. We're not afraid. We wanted to eat donuts in Jerusalem. This is the best donuts in the area. So we are here and we're going to stay here. And thank you, Channel 1.
As we commemorate past miracles and victory over the Greeks, the folks here are definitely showing some good holiday cheer.
Happy Hanukkah!
Students from the Technion Institute of Technology are dreaming of a way to light Hanukkah candles on the moon. Let's take a look. That's pretty cool. Now taking a look at local finance, and with no currency trading on Sundays, the shekel remains the same, while share prices on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange started off the trading week in the red. Here's a look at the mid-afternoon numbers. Turning to the weather, and the isolated rain showers are expected to continue tonight, but taper off around noon tomorrow. There should also be a slight rise in temperatures under partly cloudy skies. Here's the forecast at home and abroad for the next 24 hours. Thank you for being with us this afternoon. Hope you'll join us again tomorrow when I'll be here to bring you the latest news from Israel. I'm Erin Viner, wishing you a great evening and shalom from Jerusalem.